Daycare workers of Reddit, what is the most shocking family secret you have been told by a 3-year-old? Oh my, I can't believe this isn't the first one that popped into my head. There was a little girl and boy about 3 and 1. They were in foster care and had great foster parents. Well, they would get picked up about once a week by a social worker and taken to their parents for visits. Well, one time when they came back from the first unsupervised visit, the little 1-year-old started breathing really heavy and raspy and then all of a sudden barely breathing at all. We think maybe an allergic reaction to something? Of course, we call an ambulance. Then, not even 10 minutes after he's off of the hospital, it happens to the little 3-year-old. But she starts throwing up and then not being able to breathe. So we're all like, WTF is going on? The owner goes to the hospital with the kids and calls later. They let us know what's going on. Turns out the real parents poisoned both of the kids. They turned out okay. The little boy had a lot more in his system and was in the hospital for a few months. But overall, everything went back to normal. Needless to say, the parents went to prison. The reason for doing it was because if they couldn't have them, then no one else was raising them, which made no sense because they were fairly close to getting them back. You never know how crappy some parents can be until you work in childcare. Edit. Because so many people have asked me this. I mean the owners of the daycare, not of the children. What the F? Wow, that's awful. So glad those kids are safe. I dated a girl with 2 kids. I was watching them while she went to the doctor. She had a serious medical problem and she wanted the kids to not be there and see her all stressed out. Was watching Toy Story with her 3-year-old daughter. I guess the daughter started understanding that her mom and I are more than friends. She said, "Would you hit Mama?" I was shocked and I said, "Of course not. What put that idea in your head?" And she teared up and said, "My daddy used to hit her." And she started crying. I just did my best. I explained to her that I would never hurt any of them and how people who love each other should behave and that her dad had a sickness that caused him to act strangely. He was an addict. I got her a popsicle and she calmed down as Buzz Lightyear and Woody were flying into the car. I was aware that their dad hit their mom, but I didn't know the daughter witnessed it or would even remember. You're a good man. I'm okay sometimes. They tell me everything. If you lie to your daycare worker, your child will spill the beans. I have lots of 3-year-olds struggling with potty training. Every single parent will tell me they're working with the child at home. Your kid will tell me if that's true or if you're just putting them in a diaper as soon as you get home. Biggest thing I've been told, one little girl mentioned how her grandma tries to breastfeed her. Her grandma picked her up every day from daycare and had her just about all afternoon with her alone. We called parents and CPS. An investigation was done and Grandma admitted to holding her like she was nursing but claimed they were just cuddling. From my conversation with the little one, it sounded like it was definitely going on. She was really detailed for an almost 3-year-old. Grandma walked away unscathed and still picked little girl up from daycare regularly. If you lie to your daycare worker, your child will spill the beans. Man, too true. I worked as a martial arts instructor for years, and one of our programs was for young kids, like 3 to 5 years old. Those little craps live to narc on their parents to us. My mommy threw trash out of the car window on the way here. It was awesome. I just shared this in r/parenting a week ago, but just how aggressively willing our little one was to share was too funny. She saw that Daddy and I left the room and without skipping a beat, took one look at Grandma and goes completely unprompted, "Daddy's mean to me. He yells at me and I don't like him at all." All wide-eyed and completely sincere. Grandma gets to the bottom of it and it turns out it's because he told her to calm down after a tantrum about not getting McDonald's French fries 3 days ago. This 4-year-old held a 3-day grudge about French fries and tried to report Daddy to Grandma. I could not believe it, LOL. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. My kindergarten class had parent volunteers come in sometimes to help with projects. My mom signed up and came one day, but the other mother who was supposed to also come in called out sick. At recess, my mom saw the mother's son and said something like, "Hi, kid name. I heard your mommy was sick and I hope she feels better. Is she okay?" The boy said, "Yeah, she's okay, but the balloon in her boobie popped and she has to go to the doctor to get it fixed." Basically, she just called out because her breast implant leaked or had some issue. Not really shocking, just kind of funny. My grandma owns a home daycare, and a female toddler that she babysat decided to try and pull down a male toddler's pants and kiss his pee-pee. My grandma immediately asked her where she learned that, and she said, my daddy. My grandma reported it, and an investigation was done, and her family was actually very grateful that she did it, even her dad. An investigation was done, and they found nothing wrong, and the parents 100% cooperated. Kids sometimes just say odd things, but they were glad to know that my grandma takes those sorts of things seriously. So I guess it's not a family secret, but my grandma certainly thought it could have been at the time. She probably just walked in on her parents at some point. R/no, yes. Not a secret and not a daycare worker, but I do work with young children at a private tutoring company. But a little girl, just turned 6, at my workplace once turned to another girl who was being disruptive and calmly said, "Go and see a therapist, darling. You sound like you need one." It was hilarious at the time, but also kind of sad that the girl had heard that phrase often enough to be able to parrot it during an argument. This is why 6-year-olds shouldn't be allowed to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Shady. Little bees. IDK if this counts, but a 3-year-old told me he had belly aches every day because mommy gave him too much sleepy juice. I said, "What's that?" He didn't know. I brought it up to her and she said it was all normal and fine, even with a little laugh. Yeah, sometimes I give him a little bit too much NyQuil because the little crap doesn't sleep. And I was like, no child that age should have any NyQuil. She laughed it off and said, "Oh, he's been getting it since he was a year old. Nothing bad has happened." And on top of that, the kid always came in smelling like strong weed. CPS was called. Liver damage, though. But yeah, he looked okay, so it's fine, right? When my son was 3, I bought my wife Titanic on video. Yes, it was a long time ago. For her birthday. He asked if he could watch it after nursery school. We said that it wasn't really a film for children. It was a film for grown-ups like mommy and daddy. When I picked him up later, his nursery teacher was stifling her laughter as he had been telling everyone all day that it was his mummy's birthday that day, and that daddy had bought mommy a special video that only mummies and daddies could watch. This reminds me of my daughter, 5 at the time, yelling at me in the car one time because I was drinking and driving, and she heard that you can hurt people and go to jail for that. I was drinking a bottle of iced tea. This thread making me terrified to have kids. I teach 2-year-olds, and we were asking the kids what their parents' names were, just to see if they knew. I asked a little boy, "What's mommy's name?" He says, "Michelle." Then I asked, "What's daddy's name?" And he looks confused as if he's trying to figure out the answer but can't. So I ask, "What does mommy call daddy?" Assuming he would say John, instead he looked up at me and says, "Big Papa." I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Throw your hands in the air if you's a true player. Not really a shocking secret, but it got a laugh out of me. I had my preschoolers rounded up for circle time. Going off their interests of the day, I decided to ask who was a boy and who was a girl, since that's what happened to be the one thing every 3-year-old cared about that day. Through the sea of children, I hear a couple responses. "I'm a boy," "I'm a girl," etc. Then, out of nowhere, all the way in the back, I hear, "I'm black." He sure was. God, I missed that class. Good times. What is your gender? Male, female, black? For some reason, this is the funniest one. Little kid, just kind of babbling age. She couldn't talk properly, but she could say a few words. She was playing in the little playhouse, and I heard her yell very clearly, "Get out of my house, rat bastard!" I wonder where she picked that up. My cousin said he knew he and his wife had been fighting too much, and when he heard the kids playing house and his daughter yelled at his son, who was playing husband, "You always leave in the middle of an argument. I have to go to work. You always have to go to work." It was word for word their most an argument to have. One of my parents' parental flaws was to tell me and my brothers to stop being noisy every time we made a noise. In other words, every time we were being kids. My dad recently told me about that one time I was playing with Legos. I'd made a little pyramid, took a Lego character, and made it walk to the top while another character stood by the base of the pyramid. I had apparently made one character say, "Are you at the top yet?" And the other one said, "Quit nagging." I had then made the first one cry, at which point the second one said, "Stop crying." I once had a little girl tell me she saw daddy licking mommy like a doggy. That was hilarious and awkward. There were a handful of really sad cases where children would disclose neglect or abuse. One girl in particular had a meltdown one day when she had an accident in her underwear. Turns out that her mom would slap her around just enough to not leave a mark and lock her in the closet when she misbehaved, which included accidents. Needless to say, we reported the mother to CPS and did a rush job washing the girl's clothing so she could go home in the same clothes she wore to school without her mom knowing about the accident. Lots of kids spilling the beans on new pregnancies or divorces, arguments between parents, or infidelity. Kids see and hear a lot, and they tend to have incredibly good memory for that kind of stuff. I'm just going to add that they seem to have a pretty good memory in general. I now just ask my almost 3-year-old daughter where I put whatever I'm trying to find, and she always knows where it is, whether it's my keys, wallet, or the remote. Those Bluetooth finder tags are going to go belly up once people find out about child finders. We'll be rich! Oh wait, no, they cost so much. We're broke. F. Not a daycare worker, but I used to have a tax practice. A client came into my office to drop off his tax paperwork with his 5 kids, ages 3 through 10, in tow. He said he needed to go run an errand and left, leaving the kids in my hands. For me to babysat while I worked on his taxes. The kids were shy, quiet, and well-behaved, but the youngest finally started a conversation with me. My daddy hits my mommy. The fact that he dumped his children on you was good foreshadowing of his awfulness. Seriously though, 5 kids? I can't imagine what the office looked like if he was gone more than about a minute on his errand. This isn't exactly scandalous. The shocking things I have heard usually involve abuse. We had a family from Texas move to the daycare I worked at in Illinois. The boy would try and tell us stories, but we could never fully get all the details for it to make sense. It would usually go like this. Boy, you know who's bad? Me. Who's bad? Boy, the black man. Me. Who? Boy, the black man is bad. He hurts people. Me. What man? Why does he hurt people? Boy, the black man. He's scary. After a few weeks of this, the boy was the one to always bring the black man topic up. I finally was able to discover that the black man was Darth Vader. I had assumed that perhaps this Southern family had a week of racism, but it just turned out I was prejudiced against Southerners. That reminds me of my daughter asking to watch the movie with a black man, the white man, and the green man. It took me a while to realize she was talking about Star Wars. For Halloween, my son wanted to be the green guy from Star Wars, and we were like, Yoda? And he gets all mad, is yelling, no, the green guy! Turns out he meant Luke with the green lightsaber. When my daughter was 2, I had her little brother. Sometimes, when he was around 9 months old, she got pretty sick of him, and she was also in her daddy is king phase. So she would go around saying, Daddy is my daddy, but he's not little brother's daddy. I always wondered if she spread that rumor at the daycare as well. My oldest son, age 2 then, used to tell me, Mama, I'm your baby. New brother is daddy's baby. Probably, LOL. So I worked in a day nursery for about 4 or so years, and I will never forget the day that a 3-year-old outed her mom and dad for having a you-know-what swing in their bedroom by drawing a pretty graphic picture of the swing, her mummy laying back in it, and daddy kneeling down in front of her. We reported it to management because of policies and procedures, but my lord, I had to leave the room and laugh before I imploded. The same child, maybe 3 or 4 days later, pipes up during a conversation about religion. It was around Christmas time, so we were covering what religions have what festivals/gods, etc. She announces that her mommy loves God very much and prays to him a lot at night. Without even thinking, we ask, how does she pray? She responded with making the doing it moans and saying, oh my God, oh God, oh God, oh God, yes, I am so close. And that she thought it was sweet she felt so close to God. I miss that kid. I had a kid tell me I was looking in mommy's dresser and she has a dog bone and a dog collar and we don't even have a dog. Kiddo found mommy's toy stash. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.